Have you ever just looked around a room and wondered, why are we all so different? In the way we think, the way we learn, even the way we act? Well, today, we're going to dig into the psychology behind what makes you, well, you.
Think about it. It's a question that pops up everywhere, from a classroom to an office meeting. One person seems to just get a new idea, like instantly. Meanwhile, someone else needs to wrestle with it for a bit. It's a super simple, everyday observation, but it actually points to something incredibly deep about us as humans.
And that's it. That's the key. That simple phrase, individual differences, opens up a whole field of psychology. It's not about being better or worse or faster or slower. It's really about understanding the unique blueprint that every single person has.
So, what exactly are we talking about here? What are individual differences? Let's get a really clear definition because this is the foundation for everything else we're going to cover.
So basically, it's the science of what makes each person one of a kind. It explains why you might be a total morning person while your best friend can't function before noon, or why you get energized by a big crowd while someone else finds it completely draining. It's the entire amazing spectrum of human experience.
And this leads us to a couple of really important questions. First, is it normal to be different? Yes, absolutely. It's the most normal thing in the world. And second, if it's normal, is it fair to compare ourselves to other people? The answer is a hard no. They say comparison is the thief of joy, but it's also just illogical, right? Especially when no two people are starting with the same set of instructions. And these differences have a few core things you got to remember. First, they're universal. Everybody has them. Second, they're continuous. It's not like you're just an introvert or an extrovert, period. It's a spectrum, and you fall somewhere along that line. And finally, they're dynamic, which just means they can change and evolve as we go through life.
Okay, so we know that being different is a totally natural part of being human. But what kinds of differences are we even talking about? Let's break it down and take a closer look. We can pretty much group all these variations into four main buckets. Physical differences are the most obvious ones, things like height and strength. Mental differences cover how we think and how we learn. Emotional differences are all about our feelings and how we react to things. And social differences, well, they shape how we interact with each other, explaining why some people are natural-born leaders and others are the quiet, supportive players on the team.
Let's dive a little deeper into mental differences for a second, because this is where a huge misconception lives. We often think being intelligent just means getting straight A's, right? But is that really the whole story? Oh, not even close. Real intelligence is so much broader than that. It's your ability to reason, to learn from what happens to you, and to adapt to new situations. This means that a brilliant mechanic who can tell you what's wrong with an engine just by its sound is showing just as much intelligence as a physicist solving some crazy complex equation.
And that brings up another key distinction: aptitude versus interest. Aptitude is your natural potential, what you could be good at. Interest is what you just plain love to do. The sweet spot for a happy career or even a hobby is finding where those two things overlap. Having a huge talent for something you find totally boring, that's just a recipe for burnout.
And all of this stuff comes together to form our personality. Think of it as your own personal psychological signature. It's those consistent patterns in how you act that make you, you. It's why your friends know you'll be the life of the party, while someone else would much rather be in a quiet corner with a good book.
So we've talked about the what. Now for the really big question, why? Where do all these fascinating differences actually come from? And this, my friends, brings us to one of the oldest debates in psychology.
You've heard this one before. Nature versus nurture. Are we just born this way, with our whole life kind of set in stone by our genes? Or are we a blank slate, shaped completely by our experiences?
Well, the answer, as it turns out, is both. It's a partnership. Think of it this way. Heredity, your genes, that provides the potential. It hands you a set of tools. But it's your environment, your family, your school, your culture, that teaches you how to use those tools. It's what shapes what you ultimately build with them. So you see, it's a super complex recipe. Heredity and environment are the main ingredients for sure. But then you've got things like culture and education that add all the flavor. It's the constant, dynamic mix of all these factors that creates the unique person you are.
Okay, so this is all really fascinating theory, but what about the real world? Why is understanding all this stuff so important? Let's talk about the practical side of things.
See, this knowledge isn't just for passing a test, it's actually transformative. In education, it means knowing that one kid learns best by building something, while another learns best by writing about it.
For careers, it helps guide us to work that actually fits our natural talents. It also supports mental health by helping us have more empathy and, in the big picture, it promotes acceptance and helps us all get along a little better.
And let's just really hammer this point home when it comes to education. If every single student is unique, then a one-size-fits-all approach is pretty much guaranteed to leave some people behind. Real learning happens when education actually centers on the learner, respecting and adapting to all the different ways our brains work.
And this might just be the most vital takeaway of all. We often make the mistake of thinking different means a hierarchy, that it means better or worse. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding. Our differences don't create a ladder of inequality. They create a rich, beautiful mosaic of diversity. So let's end on this really powerful thought. True equality isn't about trying to make everyone the same. It's about providing every single unique individual with the same opportunity to thrive. It's about celebrating, not erasing, the very differences that make us human.